I'm just going to go into this one saying that it could contain a spoiler or two for Book 1, Curse of the Fallen. Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Forbidden Realms book review. This is book 2 in the Fallen Light series by H.C. Newell. Now, as I said before this video got started, this one does contain some slight spoilers for Curse of the Fallen. If you haven't read that one yet, maybe give this review a miss and come back to it once you've read book 1, which you really should because it was good. Before we jump into the review today, make sure you check in the description box down below for links to my Discord and social media, should you want to come along for the ride. Now, Forbidden Realms was an action-packed adventure which unfolded the world of the Fallen Light series beautifully. From the get-go, H.C. Newell invites the reader to a visual experience with her beautifully crafted world. The reader follows a defeated Narena who is venturing back to an old town where her magic is seen as evil. Hiding in the shadows, she's determined to make amends to a fallen friend's family, but she must be careful. It soon becomes clear that Nia is not safe here, and she must remain on guard and find somewhere safe to hold up for the evening. Unfortunately for her, nowhere is safe, and she is discovered. Her secret is out, and she once again needs to flee. With the help of a new friend, Narena makes it out alive, and she crosses paths with Alia, a woman with the ancient magic of the Dur coursing through her veins. Alia's and Narena's destinies align, and they will need to work together to gather the magic of the elements in order to enter the Forbidden Realms. Unfortunately, I cannot give away too much more of the plot without getting into spoiler territory for book 1, but no, these books are full of action-heavy fun and some of the best character interactions that I've read in fantasy, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I have quite a few praises for the Forbidden Realms and the Fallen Light series as a whole, and the first would be the scope of the world. It was obvious in book 1 that this world was huge. There are several different species, cities, and lifestyles waiting to be discovered within this world. Book 2 introduces us to a few different characters, each with their own unique histories and prejudices that prove a point of contention for our band to work through. One of the species that we get introduced to in book 2 are the Vaxros. They're a tall, red-skinned race with beautiful scarring all over their bodies. We encounter these creatures several times and learn about their complicated history with humans and other magic users. It was very clear that these creatures have little trust for Nia, Alia, and the rest of their party, and it made for some really excellent conflict along the way. That was just one example of a type of creature that was introduced in this world, but we did meet several others along the way, and it just built this world up to feel so rich as we traveled through different lands. Another thing worth mentioning, and something that I found really interesting in book 2, was the author called herself out on convenient plot points, and it shocked me and delighted me as a reader when we went through. She actively has her characters question the why and how of things. Why have they come up at such times, which allowed an exploration of the world, a quick recap into the past foreshadowing that maybe the reader hadn't picked up on initially, but didn't make you feel like an idiot. It was just more of an moment. And it also made for some humorous banter within the group, which is something that H.C. Newell really has excelled at. It was like the author had reached into my mind at the very points that I was thinking, well, that was oddly convenient, and then explained to me in a way that enhanced the story why it was done in that particular way. It was just something that I'd never come across before in a book, and it was really interesting to see something done that way and have that foreshadowing brought to the front to be like, haha, you missed it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to have that happen. Now, I praised the banter in book 1, Curse of the Fallen, and I'm absolutely going to do that again. H.C. Newell absolutely slays the friendship vibe in book 2. The dynamic between Alia and Narena as they learn to know one another, trust one another, and then feel genuine affection for the other person is really beautiful to watch unfold. We have a friendship dynamic in this book which toys between the lines of will they or won't they, but Narena sticks to her guns rather than going for the easy romantic plot point. We see how complicated that dynamic can be, and once again the banter was on point throughout these interactions, and it was interesting to not have that easy romantic win, even when the audience might be pushing for it, because I definitely thought it was going there, but our main character, like I said, stuck to her guns, and that can be a complicated dynamic in real life, and I think Newell has really nailed getting that down in a body of fiction. The group that we follow feels like a friendship group that has just been thrown together by circumstance. That's exactly what they are. Nothing feels disingenuous between them as they learn about each other and they have their grievances and they learn to become friends throughout their journey. In terms of character work, Narena has shot up to be one of my favourite female protagonists. She is smart, she's quick-witted, she knows how to fight, and also when to pull back and use that intelligence to know when to stop. Something I really love about her is she asks questions that matter. They're not dumb questions, they're questions that fulfill her needs at that time, and then she remembers that information as we go along, and it doesn't need to be repeated. She trusts and she loves hard, and she learns as she goes along. I also really like one of our baddies in the book, Thorn. I thought he was such a cool character, and it definitely had a gaming vibe to it. I actually asked the author if there was a gaming influence for this particular character, but without going into too much detail for book one, Thorn is hired by the Order to capture Narena on her quest. So in book one, it's very much set up as a revenge tale, and Thorn is a character that is utilized to draw the plot points of book one and book two together. So even though we feel like we're going on a separate adventure in book two, Thorn helps it tie into the overall story of the Fallen Light series as we go along. So he keeps showing up, and he made my heart jump a couple of times because he just wouldn't die. Every time there was a battle scene, it felt like a video game, or that boss in a video game that just doesn't want to die and keeps upgrading themselves to the point where they're nearly impossible to defeat. And it did feel like boss battles that we were going into every time this particular character showed up on the page. It was an excellent tie to the overall plot of the story and a good reminder of Narena's origins when we met her in book one and what is driving her forward throughout the rest of the series. Now, I do have one small critique for the Forbidden Realms, and that is that perhaps there is too much action going on for a 450 page count, in my opinion. Each chapter had a certain flow, and our characters ended up in a dire situation in nearly every one, so one POV or another would end up in some sort of situation. As the reader, it did make me wonder what would take them out at the end of each chapter, who would turn up, and if we would actually get to see the action or whether it would be a fade to black moment, because we did get a combination of both. It did make the book extremely fast-paced and fun, but it also did lose me a couple of times with the plot points sort of intertwining, and I'd need to go and reread passages or even chapters to re-jog my memory. Overall, I think that H.C. Newell has done a great job in continuing the Fallen Light series in a way that reminds us of Narena's motivation, but also opens up the wider world and magic system for a bigger story. These books, I think I said it with book one, they're perfect as quick reads to sneak in at the end of the month if you want to make a reading goal. Even though it's 450 pages, I read this in like 3 days. They're very short, sharp, awesome palette cleansers in between big series to have a bit of fun with. If you're looking for something like that, you'll have a good time with the Fallen Light series, and I still have a novella to go at some point this year. That was The Forbidden Realms by H.C. Newell. Have you read this one? Have you read the first book, Curse of the Fallen, and what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.